Hello, ASTI community, and great day to you. Our 2026 conference may be over, but the learning is not stopping. My name is Melody McAllister, and as the director of ASTI, I'd like to welcome Julien Gamelli from Book Creator from Cami in the fourth of our post-ASTI webinar series. Julien, did I say your last name right?
It's Gemelli, but I'm used to it. It's been pronounced that way my whole life.
Okay, Gemelli. I would like to introduce or welcome Julien Gamelli in our fourth post-ASTI webinar series. But before we get started, I want to thank Julien and Book Creator from Cami for being part of our ASTI conference this year. I have been a fan and user of Book Creator for quite a few years. I've met so many people in the Book Creator world, and I was so glad to have them at ASTI this year, like here present. We could not do this annual event without our sponsors. Book Creator sponsored our I Did a contest by helping us judge the projects. They created a beautiful book that included all of the winners, and they made it possible for all of our ASTI members to have a premium subscription as a gift. And I'm going to share all of that as we start talking. And hopefully you were able to attend some of their ASTI sessions, but if not, Julien is going to share with us today how to get started with Book Creator from Cami. But Julien, first, how are you today? And can you share a little bit about your background?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I am doing great. I am here in Northern California, about 45 minutes north of Sacramento in a town called Marysville. My background is from the classroom. I taught 5 years of U.S. history, government econ. So I come from a social studies background, and I was really into different EdTech tools, including Book Creator and Cami in the classroom. And so transitioning from being a classroom teacher to EdTech, professional development facilitator, it's been really awesome, sharing some of the strategies that I use in the classroom and also brainstorming with teachers about how they can use these tools. So that is where I am coming to you from. I did start with Cami. And for those of you that don't know, Cami and Book Creator are now under the same umbrella. We are one happy family. So I started with Cami, but I am loving being a part of this Book Creator family as well.
Awesome. That's so interesting that you have a social studies background. I love that. And did you, just curious, did you teach like middle school or high school?
I taught high school. So mainly juniors in the U.S. history level, a little bit of freshman, geography, a little bit of sophomore world history, seniors doing government econ, but definitely high school.
Awesome. All right. Well, I love that. And we have quite a few people watching today. And so if you want to say hi to us, we'd love to say hi to you and let us know where you're coming in from. All right, Julien, are you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay, so for those of you that aren't too familiar with Book Creator, we're gonna really start from scratch today, and just talk about how, what Book Creator is, how you can get involved with making a book, assigning that book to your class, how you might use this in different ways with your students, and what tools Book Creator offers to increase accessibility, to really support universal design, giving students various ways that they can show their understanding. And so I'm excited for you guys to continue this conversation after today and really, think about how you might apply this in your classroom. So what I'm looking at here is the home page. And so one thing I do want to point out is when you're logging into Book Creator, there's two different screens you'll see. There's two different screens you'll see, one for students, one for teachers. Just make sure for those teachers in here that you are logging in as a teacher, because you will see different, capabilities in terms of making books, sharing it with other people as well. So one thing to look for as you're logging in. But this is the home page. And so what I'm looking at here is a couple of my libraries that I have started. Okay, my books is going to be my private library. This is where you might create your drafts and really edit your books until you're ready to push it out to your students. But what you can do is actually make libraries that will consist of various books, whichever books you've created that you wanted to add in here. And when I say books, that's sort of the heart of what Book Creator is, right? Is a digital interface where I, as the teacher, can create a book that my students will interact with. My students can create books that will support project-based learning. And so there's a lot of versatility with how you might use this tool. But these libraries is where you are going to put the specific resources that you want for that specific group. And you can make as many of these libraries as you want. So today I'm going to get you guys into this ASTI library so that you can sort of see what I'm seeing and get a little taste of how it looks like from the student side. And so we do have a link in the chat here. And if you click on the Join Julian's Library link, that will bring you into the ASTI library. And I will give you guys a chance to see what you might experience as those students are joining. So Melody's already joined. So why don't we give it just like 30 seconds and give everybody a chance to either click that link, or if you're looking at my screen here, you can go to app.bookcreator and type in the code 8WP22CY. So we'll give you guys just a moment to do that. Again, I'm not going to ask you to do too much, but it will be nice for you to join the library so that you can return to this group at a later date and get access to all the things that we look at today.
So we have a question. This is kind of cool from Cooking with Mason. He says, so this is for books? Yeah, Mason, this is really cool. I don't know if you're an educator, but we're glad that you're tuning in. And yeah, this is, you could do so much with Book Creator. I have actually created quite a few books with my students and help them to get started to make their own. And actually my son used a Book Creator for our Edita contest this year, and it was really fun to work with him to do that as well. But glad that you're joining in.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that we love to talk about with Book Creator, and I'll get into this a little bit later as well, but when you are finished with your book, you actually have the ability to publish that book live on our database, on our website. And so you can share that link to the book with your family, with your friends, with other teachers, with your classmates, and you can actually track how many people are reading your book. So it's a nice way that we can, see how many people are engaging with our stuff there.
And not just like how many people, it seems like it shows where people are like reading it too. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Students love, when we talk about classroom projects, right, and we use the Book Creator to make those projects, being able to post that live and then see, wow, people from Europe are reading my book. It really creates that intrinsic motivation for students to really try and give it their all when it comes to that book. I come from the classroom, so I know how difficult it can be to sort of get that student to have that intrinsic motivation. But what we're finding, especially in today's day and age, when posting things online is something that comes natural to them, they really do become more motivated when they know it's going live for the whole world to see. Yeah.
I loved it. When I was teaching first grade a few years ago, as a class, we created these books, these physical books, but we also created it through Book Creator. And then I was able to share the link with all of the parents of the kids. So, not every family has a lot of books. They don't have a huge library, but and also kids love to read their own words. So that was something that I really enjoyed about using Book Creator with my littles. Yeah. So just wanted to throw that in. This is for all ages as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So looking at what this might look like. Oops. So if I get my if I share that link that you guys just saw, giving you an example of what it might look like completely when you have a group, you're able to see everyone that has joined this library and you're able to monitor their progress. So we'll get into my book in just a second, but just know that it is really, really awesome to be able to share that library link with your kids, have them join, and then not only can you assign their own copy of the book to them, but you can monitor their progress in this class view. So you'll notice that this was the specific page that I assigned to my students. And so I can scroll through here and see the various versions of this template that they completed. But let's go ahead and get into Book Creator itself. Okay, let's jump into what the idea of Book Creator is. And so Book Creator, again, is this digital interface where students can create digital books using various types of multimedia. So we're talking about recording your voice with an audio file that can be transcribed into other languages. We're talking about, recording yourself in a video when it comes to alternative forms of presentation. And we can embed all of those things within a unique book. And that can be based on a template that the teacher finds in our library or a template that the teacher designs. Or once your students are getting comfortable with Book Creator, they can do it from scratch. They can take a blank book and they can really, use their artistic skills to be able to create something unique. Now, Just getting right into some of the great accessibility features we have here, you'll notice that I have the ability to translate any of these text boxes, right? So that little description of what Book Creator is, if I double click in here, I can highlight what I want to translate, hit that translate button, and then I can choose the language that I want to translate it to. Now, if I choose Chinese and hit translate, it completely translates that entire section. And so what I could do, and I'll pop back really quick and look at my book, is I can actually translate this entire book if I would like to, and that'll take every single text box that's in this book and it'll translate it to that preferred language, which is really amazing when it comes to those English learners being able to engage with the purpose of the project rather than focusing on their English proficiency. But what I can also do is, as you might have seen it in the side here, is I can make a copy. If I copy and paste it, I can make a copy of that text box and move it to the margin. And then I can go in here and do that translation just like you saw before. And now I can have the English and the Spanish translation right next to each other. And that way I can push this book out to my entire class. And whether it's a student that needs that language support or they don't, I can have it there for them either way. So just know that as you're creating your books, whether your students are doing this as well, you can utilize the space in the margins of the book. It doesn't have to just be what's on this page here.
I really like that. I have a student who is multilingual. We've actually been talking about this, and she speaks 4 languages, and English is definitely a lot trickier than the others that she's learning. And I never thought about this, but yeah, using the margins and making sure, I love the accessibility of this, that, every student gets to participate. And if I haven't translated it to a language that would be more comfortable for one of my students, can they also do that? Like, it's not just a teacher thing, but they can go into this template and copy anything and translate it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you share it to your students and you give them their own copy, that edit access to their copy, they're going to be able to do that exact same thing there.
I love that. That's amazing.
You'll also notice that we have read aloud. So if that student has that text-to-speech accommodation, that little speaker that's at the bottom of all these text boxes, they can just click that.
Book Creator is a simple tool for teachers.
And so they can have that read aloud. And so, again, what we'll notice here as we're going through these different pages and looking at these different tools is we've really, really wanted to try and create an environment where every single student feels supported, right?
I love that.
Yeah. So looking at some of the other great things about Book Creator is that it's just easy to use, right? There's not, it's not Photoshop where you have to take a couple courses before you understand how to use it, right? You put this in front of students and tell them that whatever they want to add to the page, it lives within the plus button. And that becomes a really, really intuitive way for the students to just know that, hey, even if I've never used this tool before, I know that if I want to go and grab something and put it in here, I need to just click on that plus button. And so they can add images here. They can use their camera, right? If I click on camera, I can take a picture of myself. And not only that, but if I grab this picture, whoops. And I go to remove background, I can actually put my face down here, right? As opposed to a Bitmoji. And so the teachers really love to be able to do that. And create some unique books that have their face on there as opposed to just some of the stock images.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Also, the pen tool. And I do want to show you guys a really, really cool feature within our drawing, capabilities, to where students, they might be that artistic student that loves to use these digital tools, but we have something called auto draw. And so you'll need to stick around for this entire thing to see this, because I have an example I want to use. But even students that don't have those artistic skills will be able to use this tool to create some really awesome images.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I love tech, because you can usually get by just feeling a little artistic and creative, even if you're not, consider yourself an artist, which I do not. So,
hey, I'm right there with you. And we also have some AI tools that will help generate some really cool images. And once we get to some of the student examples, you'll see what I mean there. And so what does this look like in the classroom, right? The reason why Book Creator is so loved by so many districts across the entire country is that it can be used for so many different things, right? If I'm a teacher and I want to create an exit ticket, I can design that exit ticket. I can push it out to my students. I can do station rotation. I can use this for assessments. And so from the teacher side, right, whether I'm grabbing a template from the Book Creator library or I'm designing it myself, I can use this to create my assignments that my students will then do. However, as we'll see in a couple of these examples, the students can also, as I've mentioned, utilize this tool to create something unique and flex those skills that they might have. So let's just jump in and look at some of these elementary examples, and then we'll pop over and look at some secondary examples. And you know, we've touched on a few of these things here, but the ease of use, as well as the you know, the ability to publish this live, right? So Winston made this book all about bears, and we see it's at 270 reads. So it's really cool to be able to track that data and watch who is looking at your book. But let's look at what this might look like for those elementary students, right? So Winston, not only did he, you know, take a template, use our image tool to pop some pictures of bears in his project about bears, but he created that table of contents to sort of talk about what he's going to do. But you'll notice these little audio patches that he recorded on each one of these pages. And so not only is he showing, and I'll play it in just a second, but not only is he showing his, you know, understanding with the information that he puts on the page, but he's showing his understanding by using his voice and actually speaking, right? So let me show you what I mean.
Diet. Growl. That's the sound of a bear. If you want to learn more about bears, keep reading to find out. First, bears eat fish. They use their hands to pick it up.
Man, I mean, he just sounds so excited about bears, right? And his personality is coming through, his knowledge about it. It's almost like he's you know, putting a little growl on his voice because he's talking about bears. And so I just love the fact that even though this is a virtual assignment, we're still seeing that student touch on there, and we're seeing his personality come through.
Yeah, I love it. And that's a keepsake right there.
Oh my gosh, right? This isn't going anywhere, you know, so the parents, they can go back and watch this. I mean, this was created a little while ago, so I think even if he's a couple grades older, Winston would probably love to go back and listen to this. Yeah, absolutely right. So, you know, looking at the different ways they can show the life cycle of the bear very simply by, you know, throwing some pictures on the page, using the arrows to show the cycle. And again, I won't play each recording here, but he's narrating his own book. And so by the end of it, there he is, there's Winston. By the end of it, he has really shown that he's done the research. He's used those analytical, critical thinking skills and produced something that's really great.
And so he can get all of those pictures inside of the platform Book Creator?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if I go to the plus button and I go to images, I can search for any image, right? So I can type bear and I can grab some pictures from here. You'll notice that I can also upload images from my drive. So if I go to images, I can click upload from my computer. So if the student finds it on Google and they can't find it on our search bar, then they can download it and upload it from here. And so whether they're utilizing our search bar or finding it from somewhere else, they can put any type of multimedia onto their page.
Wonderful.
All right, we've got this group. This is a group activity, and so I think you guys will love to see how we can take that same sort of idea that I showed in the first book and say, okay, well, what if I want to do a group activity? We got Ava, Ethan, Haley, and Zion who did a project on spiders, and they utilized the webcam from their device, and they actually showed how each of them is contributing to this book.
Hey, Team Spiders, why don't you tell me what spiders look like?
Spiders aren't insects. They're actually arachnids.
Right. So, you know, this can also be utilized in a group setting where we can give collaboration access to multiple different accounts. And so the students will all be able to go into the same book and maybe get assigned a different page, get assigned a different topic, and be able to jigsaw something like, you know, a detailed project on spiders.
I love it. Yeah. And do you know how old these kiddos are?
I don't know for sure. If I had to guess, I mean, what, maybe first grade here?
Yeah.
Something around that
So
age.
cute.
I know. And talk
What
about
a
keeps, right?
Yeah, and what a way to draw them in and make them feel like published authors because they are,
They
you
are.
know.
They absolutely are. I mean, this book, I don't know if you noticed, but it's like 1,400 reads, right? So
Yeah.
imagine those little kids being able to check in on that number and then come back to school even more excited about creating the next book, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a little bit of other features we have here as well. I'll pop back over to this book, but you'll notice that we also have other categories within that plus button. So the students can bring in files or shapes and icons, but we also have the ability to embed different types of media from other websites. And so we'll see some examples of this. But if I look at this here, this is exactly what they did. They embedded a little link here that will show their ability to.
These are the spider's legs. These are the spider's eyes and things. This is the spider's aura.
Right. So they use Clara Sketch to not only narrate, what they're learning about spiders, but simultaneously label those parts to sort of walk us through that whole, anatomy of the spider there.
That's so cool. So listen, guys, if these little kids can do it, we can do it. There's nothing that should be stopping us. That's pretty darn cool.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and look at some secondary examples because I think you guys will love what these students are doing as well. 2,500 reads on this one, but looking at a little bit more high level, assessment, showing that the student understands the life cycle of a cell and utilizing our comic book template to sort of tell a narrative story that is also aligning with their understanding of the way that cells mutate and grow and things like that. And so whether they're using our AI image generator to bring pictures in here, or again, they're finding these images on the web, we've got these really cool templates where it sort of frames it like a comic book. And so, we won't get a chance to dive too deeply into our template library. But if you're looking back at our homepage, like I was here, to start, all of this lives in the Discover section of Book Creator. And so we have all these different templates. You can isolate it by grade level, by content area. We've got some, Book Creator learning about, training students how to use Book Creator at different grade levels. And so teachers absolutely love leveraging our template library. So just know that if you like the way that this is looking in terms of, being able to make it unique and creative, this is just one example of a type of template that you could have your students fill out.
That is so cool.
Absolutely. But what I really want to show you guys that I think you will love about these secondary examples, and let me pop back into this, is this one here. So this is a narrative writing assignment that a student did. And each of these images, right? So Zahara is our character. Each of these images comes from our AI image generator. And so the student can create something that is very unique. It doesn't have to be a stock image from the internet, and they can continue to write these whereas they would have maybe drawn a picture on paper, or they would have maybe not had any images to go with their narrative at all. The student can really bring their story to life by utilizing our AI image generator. And so before we leave today, when I show you guys that auto draw example, I'm also going to show you our AI image generator where they can type in a prompt, give it a little bit of direction, and then utilize those images inside their book.
Nice. Very appropriate when we think about, how students use AI, and especially in the classroom. This is a pretty safe way for them to use it and to kind of like supplement or complement what they're doing instead of and we think, oh, the students are going to copy blah blah blah, but AI can be such a good partner with students in their creation, just kind of like how we use it as well. But I love it because it helps them with their creativity, and also students get to choose characters that look like them and they feel comfortable with. So that's a win for sure.
Absolutely. And the reality is that AI isn't going anywhere, right? And so what we need to do as educators is figure out how we can leverage that tool to still produce some meaningful work, still, make the students behind the thinking aspect of the assignment and not doing the work for them, but giving them in a way that they can even more deeply show that they understand, or that they can express their creativity, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So before we jump into the example that shows the AI image generator, I just wanted to show you guys. Now, if I am looking at this example, this is just me reflecting on my winter. I did a little, a video from me and my kids in the snow. I wrote about, this was my highlight of the winter, and then I wrote my goal for 2026 based on that highlight. And so if you wanted to have your students do something just like this, it's very, very easy to, delete the contributions that I did, take this blank template. And again, if I created this book and gave them that example, sort of the I do, we do, you do sort of method, I can show my model. I can give them access to the model. But what I can actually do is I can go to the page that I am thinking about wanting them to complete, and I can assign just that page to everyone in the library, right? So if I click on everyone in the library, and then I I can leave the book title just like that, I can assign this book to everyone in that group that joined. So that code that you guys looked at in the beginning of the session, that link that you might have clicked, if I go now back into my library and I refresh, it might take a little bit of time to load, but I'm going to see a separate copy for both of you that joined this library. And so we won't take the time to have you go through and complete it. You can see there is my second copy. And now, Mahalisa, you're going to have access to edit pages 20 and 21 and choose to throw in your own media. You can pop back over to the page before if you want to refer back to my model. And so this is a really awesome way that you can get your students completing assignments where, again, they're still having that example right on the page before, where they can sort of get that clarity on what they need to do, but they have this guided sort of practice where all they got to do is click on, whoops, go back to mine.
I want to give a shout out to my Elisa. She's one of my coworkers, and I invited my school to join us this afternoon. So my Elisa, thank you for joining in. That's so cool. When I saw her name, I got excited.
Awesome. No, I love it. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. So super simple, right? The text boxes are already made. The student can go in here and edit it how they want. They can use that plus button to pull something in, whether it's an image that they're going to search for or whether it's something in their drive, right? So again, if they don't have a picture or a video from their highlight, maybe they know where they went. They can go look up a picture of Lake Tahoe if that's where they went and throw it on the page. And so, I previewed it just a little bit, but looking at that example from this different group that I did, I can go to that class view. I can scroll to that blank template page, and I can, go student by student and actually take a look at what they've completed, and I can give them some feedback, right? I can use any one of those tools. If I want to go over here, maybe I want to grab an icon. Well, why don't I go over here? So I can leverage the same tools that I used on my own book, but I can use it to provide some feedback, right? So also, just so you know, as you're sort of editing your work on your page, you do get a couple of basic edits in terms of the color, the bolding, underline, and stuff. But you do have much more. Right next to the plus button is that inspector button, and here you'll be able to change that font size. You'll be able to change the color. You'll be able to make it more translucent, add a little shadow to it, and so no matter what tool I'm using, I'm going to have a lot more customizations using that inspector tool.
I took the little ASCII logo off so that you could show that. Can you show the plus button? And while you're doing that, I just want to say you've gotten some shout outs. Dr. Mendoza, yes. And coworkers really are the best. Agreed. So
yes,
cool.
Thanks so much for joining, Fonz. I love it. Appreciate that. No, yeah. So right next to the plus button, right? Like I said, you get some real basic edits that you can do here within the text box if you double click. But if I want to make some more edits, I can, go into the inspector button. I can change the size of what I'm looking at. I can change that color so it appears better. And maybe they'll have more of an indicator that's my feedback instead of just something that was already on the page. I can make it more translucent. I can translate it to whatever language I'm looking for. And same goes for the page, right? I can change the color of the page. I can go into my categories and grab one of the templates. So no matter what tool I'm using, whether it is the pen tool, the text box, the camera, if I want to edit the way that those things look or the way that that experience is, I can hit that inspector button and I'll have many more options. Oops.
I love that. Oh, did you? Yeah, just share it again and I'll put it up there. I just can't, like when we think about like projects and our students creating, this just looks like so much fun. And I'm thinking of all the different ways that I could use it. And I'm like, tomorrow I should just go in. I have some things planned, but I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids would love to do this so much more than what I have planned. So yes. And I mean, they want to do kind of projects like this, right? This is way better than, a Google slide or a PowerPoint presentation. And it's so much more interactive, and just the ability for them to create like the different colors, the different fonts, grab the pictures that they want, and their little worlds. And of course, I'm an elementary teacher, there's so much control and choice over that. It's a win. So I love it.
Yes. Yeah. From that UDL perspective, giving them that choice of saying, hey, how do you want to show your understanding? Do you want it to be video? Do you want to record your voice? Do you feel comfortable typing it out? Right. And even in this example here, right, maybe I have this narrative, practice where I'm trying to get my students to sort of use their creativity. Imagine you're an astronaut exploring space and you're writing a letter back to Earth. I can go in here and utilize some of the tools to create these sentence frames to where students can just grab the text box, right? They can write whatever they were going to say. Let me see, for example, if it was going to be Mars, they can grab that text box and drag it right over where they would want to fill in the sentence frame. And It's super simple to use. And maybe my students don't need the sentence frame, so I can create another version of the same assignment with just the blank text, the blank area for my students. At this point, they could record themselves with the microphone and just record that entire narrative and just kind of, freelance it, or they can grab the text box and write out the entire thing. Okay, now I did already mention to you guys that I wanted to give you some examples of that auto draw feature in our AI image generator. And so part 2 of this assignment might have been, okay, you wrote that little letter back home from the planet that you're in, but now let's bring it to life, right? Let's actually use those creativity skills. And you guys know you're going to have that portion of your class that is just, they love art. They're going to take 20 minutes on this and they're going to make it beautiful. But that larger portion of the class might really struggle, especially in a digital environment, to try to create something that looks the way that they might want it to. And so, sure, I can go and I can, pull a picture from somewhere if I have it, but check out what we have. If the student grabs the pen tool, and, they have some options there if they're that artist that wants to jump right in, but if they click on auto and they say they want to draw a planet, this auto draw tool is going to do its best to guess what I'm trying to draw and give me a better version of that picture that I can choose from. So if I draw a planet with a ring, let's see here. Whoops, try that again. Or maybe I just do my circle with a couple craters on there. Oh, I didn't click on auto draw. That's why. 1 second. Let me make sure I'm on auto draw. So right off the bat, even if I just do the circle, it already is giving me some options that look kind of like a planet, right? So I can grab that picture, I can throw it in there, and I can then color this in how I want. I can grab the crayon tool, get my colors, and I can start coloring it in how I want. And so again, those students that might not have those artistic skills or even if they don't like the way that it looks when they try to do it by hand, the auto draw feature really does a great job of trying to guess what the students are drawing and give them an option here. So some other examples. If I'm trying to draw a crown.
Did that do it for you, or was that you?
I did the first one, right? So
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Like, I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, well, I'm getting a little bit better with how to do it with a mouse, right? But if I draw, a little basic crown there, and just the other examples of things that you might want to draw here, I got some better versions of this. And so if that's what I'm looking to draw, I can throw it right on the page and then color it in. And students absolutely love the auto draw tool, because once they become familiar with how to use it, they can create these really elaborate scenes using the auto draw feature to create all different types of things, and then they can bring those together.
Really quick, Julian, did you say that does it also color it too, or do you have to color it in?
Oh, you do have to color it in. Oh, is that what you're asking about, the coloring? Yeah, no, that was me. So once you've got your blank canvas, you can then go. So let's say back to that image, and then now say I'm done. I can then pop over to the crayon tool, pick the color that I'm looking for, and then I can start to color that in.
But you're coloring it. It's not
Yes.
auto coloring it.
No,
Oh, okay,
that's
that's a little scary for me, but I just wanted to make sure. I like how you say crayon. My husband always gives me such a hard time for how I used to say crown actually, and now I try so hard to say it correctly. But that's awesome that you say crayon.
I know. I guess depending on where you live, you might say it different too, huh?
It's true. It's true. You actually really are good at that.
Oh,
You have,
thanks.
yeah. You know, our students, they're actually really good at this. I've watched them, like, you know, when you're in meetings and you have to sign your name, you know, like with the mouse pad or whatever. Our young kids, our young students, they do so much better with this than I do.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. I mean, I especially those artists, right? They've really mastered the Chromebooks and the touchscreen. And just so you guys know that this does work really well with the touchscreen as well. So I'm over here doing it with my mouse, but you know, it could be even better if the students had access to that Chromebook touchscreen.
Yeah.
So that's one option that they could do to fill this out. But say they really want like a really you know, complex image that they think looks awesome. They can hop over to our apps and they can click on AI image generator. And they can actually, it'll bring me to Adobe here, and they can prompt it. So if I say green and blue planet with 8 rings and 6 moons, and that's just like the basic idea. And of course we can feed it more and more and give it more, you know, specifics there. But when I hit generate, it'll take just a moment, but it's going to bring that idea to life. Right. And so this is, again, one of those ways that we can leverage AI to say, okay, if I'm really just getting my students to think outside the box and think about what their planet might look like, maybe I don't want to just rely on their artistic skills, but just giving them different ways that they can bring that to life. So
That's
say this
pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can grab the one they want, add it to their book, and then, you know, reshape it a little bit. And so there's the planet that they might have done there.
Yeah.
Right. And so I gave you guys that example earlier of that narrative where, you know, they had the character, and so they had different images of their character throughout their book, but it can also be used something much more low stakes, like this little exit ticket type of activity. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great. I know we did a little brochure like this, you know, it was paper and pencil, and there's nothing wrong with the paper and pencil at all, but this does seem, you know, I think our students would probably enjoy this a little bit more, to be honest. It's pretty awesome.
Oh yes. You hand this to a student and you might not hear too much talking because they really zone in and, you know, become familiar with these tools really quickly, because like I said, it's as simple as hitting that plus button and just kind of figuring out, okay, what do I want to add?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else I'd like to show you guys, and I know we're getting close to the end here, just as, you know, we've talked about how you can assign things individually. Again, just as a reminder, you create that new library. Okay, that's how you're going to get a group of your students into that library. And then once you have that book, you can assign it to everyone that's in the library. And yes, if a student joins that library late, maybe they were absent that day, or for whatever reason they're not in there, if you've assigned a book to everyone in the library, the moment they join, they're also going to get a copy of that assigned book. It's not, you don't have to reassign it or go in and you know, duplicate anything. That because that master copy has been set to assign to everyone in the library, like I said, as soon as that kid joins, whether it's in the moment or a week later, they're going to get their own copy of that book. And so if I click on create a new library, I've got some settings that I can choose here, right? I'm going to put my name of the library in there. I'm going to, you know, I can make some choices about whether or not I do want them to collaborate. Do I want them to add in comments to this page? Do I want them to be able to edit their own book or just be able to see mine? Those types of things. And so once you have your settings how you want, you will have that window that you can then pop over to your little category in the middle, hit add students, and that's where you'll get that code that I shared with you guys, right?
I love it.
I can post this to my LMS. I can put this in front of the class and just say, hey, go to app.bookcreator and type in the code, however you want to do it. But that's how you're going to get your kids in here.
That's great. And so, so super easy. So if you're using an LMS and you want to share the link, that's great. If you want to share the code, which is generally how we do a lot of different things, just sharing codes out. So let's say we get into that book, Julian, and I can get into that book as well. So like, are we making our own book? Are we getting into your book? Like, do we make a copy? How does that work?
So the moment when I'm in my book, right, and this is the master copy, but if I know that at least one of these pages, I want my students in the group to fill it out. So that's where my blank template came in. So this is the model. This is what I want them to do, you know, for themselves, and tell me what was their highlight of the winter. Then I would navigate to the page where I want them to complete. And then I'm going to go to my little share logo right next to the plus button. And that's where I hit assign. And then I can either choose to assign it to just a specific person, or I can have it just assign it to everybody in the library. And so that's when you'll notice that at that point, that's when you and what was it?
Lisa.
Lisa, that's when you and Maya Lisa got your own copy. And so this one is Maya Lisa's and this one is yours. And I can click in there and you know, pop my own comments on your book so that you can see it, or I can hop over to class view and I can just take a look at my entire class and see how everyone's doing.
If so, let's say that you let everybody in on that particular template or whatever. So everybody is, if they go to that page, everybody's working on it, you know, together, right? Like everybody could be in that page. It's not making copy per person.
So yes, as it sits right now, everyone has their own individual copy. You're not going to have edit access on my book necessarily.
Right.
So Maya Lisa has her own book. This is her own, you know, she gets every single page that I gave, except she has edit access to the template page. And same for you. You have your own book, then you have edit access to your template page. Now, say, for example, you do want collaboration. You do want multiple kids working on one page. That is also very easy to do. And it's done pretty similar to what you just saw with assigning a specific page. If I want, say this is my activity and I want my students to, you know, grab a picture and throw it on their favorite Christmas movie out of these options, then I would go to the share button. And instead of hitting assign, which would give everyone their own copy of this page, I'm going to hit collaborate.
Okay, easy.
Right. And so same kind of idea. Do I want to do it to everyone in the library, or do I only want to collaborate with certain groups? And so if you have a book that maybe you have one page dedicated to group 1, another page dedicated to group 2, you can go to those respective pages and then hit, no, I don't want everyone in the library. I just want these 2 students to have access to page 2, and then hop over to page 3 and say, okay, these other students are going to have access to page 3. And that will give you the ability to collaborate. And so this is just an example of that. Each one of these logos that you see on the page was contributed by a different person. Somebody chose to throw a YouTube video on there from Elf and put it right over the picture to show that, hey, not only am I choosing that is my favorite, but instead of just picking an emoji, I'm gonna put a little video from the movie on there, giving them, you know, different ways that they can, you know, interact with the page. But it's just as easy to collaborate as it is to assign. And so kind of going back to what you said before, yes, if you do it this way, where I navigate to that page, hit collaborate, choose who I want, now everyone has access to the same document as opposed to getting their own copy.
That's great. I'm just thinking, like, when you're introducing this to your class, like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay, you know, to just keep learning. I think the more that we use tools like this, the better we get. And you got to start somewhere. So if you're new to Book Creator and you're using the gift of the premium subscription that they've given us for our ASTI community, you know, like, even if you go in tomorrow and start trying to use it with your class, make mistakes, you know, and let your learners know that it's okay to make mistakes when you're learning something new. There's always that social emotional aspect to it as well. And then, you know, it'll be kind of fun to figure it out together and learn from your mistakes. These are things that I talk about with my kids all the time, about how the best type of learning is learning from your mistakes. But I think sometimes, and I will say my generation, I'm from the 80s. And so for some of us, like, it's a little bit harder for us to not have like all the power, all the control. And if we don't know something in and out, like all the details, it's a little bit harder for us to feel comfortable starting with these new tools. But I would just say that, like, these are the kind of tools, it's not going to hurt if you make a mistake. Nobody, you know, it's just, this is an easy entryway. And I just really hope that more of our ASTI community will use this and utilize it. I hope that next year when we do our I Did a contest, because of the multimedia aspect of this, I would love to see so many more projects go through this. It's just incredible. I taught a multimedia class 2 years ago with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and we created our own online school newspaper. But why couldn't we, create like a newspaper through this as well, or just something where we're using the different types of media? And I left it to the choice of my students how they wanted to approach that. But this just seems like, kind of like an all-inclusive way to just grab all of your students, let them, explore where they like to, where their strengths are, their creativity. I don't know that every student is going to want to use the AI feature, but it's a great introduction to using that.
Yes, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And for those teachers that, again, like you were saying, are a little bit reluctant to start a new tool because it has this like prerequisite knowledge that you need to have. It is very easy to just grab and use, but we also, if you go into our Discover section at the top of, if you're looking at your homepage, you'll notice these tabs up here, but all of our templates live on the Discover section. And if you click on ideas, right, we've got templates, grade levels, you can browse different content areas, but if you click on ideas, it's going to give you some specific examples of how you can use Book Creator for formative assessments, how you can use Book Creator for journals, right, science labs. And when you see this little thing that says remixable, what that means is that I can take this book and I can remix it straight to my library. And now I have my own copy that I can edit and then assign to my students. And so just know that there are some of these are read only because it's really just trying to explain the features that Book Creator has, and then you can take it from there. But when you're looking at those templates, you'll notice that all of these are remixable, right? So if I'm a 3rd through 5th grade teacher, and I want to take some of these activities here, right? My dinosaur notebook, my pen tool, what can you draw with the pen tool? And then there's a little, audio support kind of explaining it. Just start going through these different templates. And if you see an activity that you think might be good, you don't have to do the heavy lifting of the design. You just click remix to my library, pick which library you're thinking about, and now it's in there. So if I go back to my libraries and I go to my ASTI library, there is that book that I just pulled from the template library, and I can go in here, delete the pages I don't want, all that great stuff. And so there is some low-hanging fruit in that template section, and teachers really, really love that. So that would be a great place to start.
Yeah. And do you guys still showcase student work on your website?
Oh yes. So again, that would likely not be remixable, but when you're going through some of these examples, let me see here. Right. So here is one, me and my friends from Mrs. Elliott's class, almost 17,000 reads here. And so, this person actually took some pictures from an actual piece of paper. And so we can sort of, we don't have to completely abandon the paper and pencil aspect. If a student does an art piece on paper, snap a picture with your webcam and throw that in your book, right? We can still utilize, both forms of media. And so when we're going into the grade level section and you're looking at middle school, high school, we're looking at actual student examples that could inspire either you to design a lesson like this, or if you have an activity that's similar, share it with your students and say, hey, here's an example of what a kid did, in a different state. And they can go in here and read someone else's book and get some ideas about how they might want to approach it.
Yeah, I like the exemplar type, that they can see that other, students their age are utilizing this. I think that's really good to be able to share. And I probably not now, and I haven't checked it out for a while, but my oldest daughter used to have a book that was showcased here, and she used it for a book report. So they had they got an option of how they wanted to create their own book report, and that was how she did it. And it was pretty cool. So I love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I really enjoyed this. And also just seeing Book Creator change throughout the years, it's been pretty amazing. And I can't wait to start using this. I really hope that our ASTI members take up this gift. And even if you're just playing around with it right now, you don't see how you could integrate it with your lessons just yet. I feel like the more that you get into it and see how you could use it, you're going to get so many different ideas of how you can integrate it into your classes, all academic areas, honestly. And, teaching math, and it's funny because my Elisa helps me with my 2nd graders in math. It's so literacy heavy. So we could also, create this and put it as part of our math. I just think it touches every curriculum area. But yes, is this how they get a hold of you, Julien?
Yes, please. I am the teaching and learning coordinator for all of Alaska, and so my job is to support you as you are, becoming comfortable with Book Creator. So please reach out to me. My email is right there. You can, find me on LinkedIn as well. But I am here to support you. No question is too small. If you want to get a little group going and get, throw me on a Google Meet so I can walk you guys through some things, just know that you are not alone as you're learning this tool, and leverage me as much as you would like.
I love it. So you're saying that, like, if our community is watching right now, there's a group of them and they are like, I really want to get this started, but I'm just not sure. They can reach out to you and you are going to help them through this process.
100%. I would love to, actually.
That is awesome. And I hope that means that you'll be coming to ASTI next year as well, in person.
That is the plan. I'm gonna do everything I can, and I think we've already talked about putting that together. So I expect to see me there.
Awesome. I love this, guys. So whether you jump in and you just just learn that way, or whether you want Julien to come virtually and talk to your group. And we've got teachers all over this state, and so I think this is a great deal. And also, if you're watching this and you didn't get the QR code, but you want to reach out to Julien, you can always email me at director@asti.org, and I can get you in touch with Julien as well. And it would be my pleasure to do that. But Julien, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else that you want to share on this presentation?
No, I think this was a great starting point, and hopefully we can maybe get another webinar going, whenever the schedule allows, and we can dive a little deeper on some of the things we talked about today. But hopefully you guys saw some things that'll inspire you to at least get in there and get started, because I promise you, each and every time you use it, it'll get easier and easier.
I love that. Yes, I love being able to be with so many of these tools. I'm laughing because I really thought I was going to get the sun out of my face this week, but I didn't master that. I love it so much. Yes, this is great. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Join our Facebook community and become a member of ASTI. Just stay in touch with educators across from Alaska. And I want to give a shout out to Julien, to Cami, Book Creator. I think Belsa was here. Shannon McClintock Miller was here. I hope I said that correctly with her last names. And then David Hotler, he's the one that really just dove in for all of our IDITA stuff. And he's just an amazing person to work with. Just everybody at Book Creator, we love you guys so much. And just join us. We're trying to get Edu Protocols. It's going to join us this month, and Sabbath Learning. So guys, this isn't the last post ASTI webinar, and you can find it all on our YouTube. But Julien, thank you so much. And let us know, guys, how much you enjoyed this, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, guys.
All right.